Hi, hello, welcome to Vital Biology. This is Padma. In this video, we will study about the mechanism of respiration. In this topic, we will cover the various muscles which are mainly involved in respiration process, their location, and also how their contractions and relaxations helps in change of the thoracic and the pulmonary volumes. So here, the muscles which are mainly involved in respiration process are, so one is the diaphragm, another one is the intercostal muscles, and another one are the abdominal muscles. So here, in this particular three muscles, mainly in the normal respiration process, this diaphragm and the intercostal muscles are playing a major role. Okay, and the role of abdominal muscles we will study in the next slides. So the first thing, diaphragm. So diaphragm location is, it is present between the thoracic and the abdominal region. As already we have previously said that if we will take our body, so this is our head region and this is our body. And this body can be divided into upper thoracic chamber and the lower abdominal region. So between these two of the chambers, one of a dome-shaped structure. Okay, so generally the structure of this particular muscle is the dome shape. Dome shape means half moon shape. Okay, half moon shape. So that half moon shape structure is present between the thoracic and the abdominal region. Okay, so diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle and it is present between the thoracic and the abdominal regions. So diaphragm retains two different shapes. One is the dome shape and another one is the straightened shape. So when the muscle is in a relaxed state, okay, when this diaphragm is in a relaxed condition, generally it retains this dome shape, okay, dome shape. But when this muscle will get contract, okay, during the contraction of the diaphragm, yes, it becomes straightened, okay, flattened structure. Whereas when it is in a relaxed condition, yes, it is in a dome shape. Okay, so that is about the diaphragm. The next one is the intercostal muscles. So here, costal region means here we are talking about the ribs. As we know that in the case of our thoracic cage, yes, ribs are the bones which are present laterally. And between these ribs, okay, between these ribs, certain muscles are present. So suppose if these are the ribs, okay, and here these muscles present between these ribs, okay, between the ribs. Intercostal muscles means the muscles which are present between the ribs, okay, so between the ribs. Such muscles are the intercostal muscles, which can be again of two types: external intercostal muscles and the internal intercostal muscles. So external, so position wise, when they present between these ribs, yes, few of them are present towards the outside and some are present behind the external intercostal muscles. So one is towards the outside, another one just behind these muscles. So that's why the outer one are called as the external intercostal muscles and the behind the back of these external intercostal muscles are called as the internal intercostal muscles. Okay, just the position based again, these intercostal muscles are of two types, external and the internal intercostal muscles. And the third, as here the name indicates, in the abdominal region, the muscles which are present, so those are considered as the abdominal muscles. So now we will study how these muscles play a major role in the mechanism of respiration. And as we know that breathing is the first step of respiration, and breathing involves two main steps. One is the inspiration and another one is the expiration. Inspiration means where the air is drawn inside, that is from the external environment, the air is drawn into the lungs. Whereas expiration, where the air from the lungs, it is released outside. Okay, inspiration, air is drawn into the lungs, whereas the expiration, released outside. So these two steps are actually involved in this breathing process. And to occur this inspiration and the expiration, yes, definitely one of the key principle is required here, or one of the key factor is involved here, that is the pressure gradient. Okay, pressure gradient. So here two of the regions we are saying, one is the external environment, another one is the internal environment, that is the lungs. Okay, one is external and another one is lungs. So here the gases are moving, Okay, the gases are moving in both the directions. So one is from external towards the lungs and again from lungs to external region. Okay, from external to lungs that involves inspiration process. Whereas from lungs to external environment, so that process is in the expiration process. Okay, and to occur this inspiration and the expiration, yes, definitely there is a key word here which is involved. So that is the pressure gradient. Okay, so what is this pressure gradient? Means, as we have studied earlier also, the air, when it has to move from one place to another place, yes, definitely it moves from the high pressure to low pressure so that it can equalize it. Okay, so high pressure to low pressure. So whenever there is a high pressure of air comparative to the lungs, there is a high pressure towards the outside. Yes, definitely from there the air is moving into the lungs. But once inside the lungs the pressure is more comparative to again external environment, then the air from the lungs, it will move towards the outside. Okay, so altogether the inspiration and the expiration occurs because of a pressure gradient, and the pressure gradient is between lungs and the atmosphere. Okay, so here that is what here we can see. So inspiration, and for that inspiration and expiration, so here few of the muscles. So the muscles which are diaphragm, external intercostal muscles and the internal intercostal muscles, as we have studied earlier, which are mainly involved in this respiration process. So here these are the three things which are interlinked with each other. So one is breathing. Breathing is mainly based on the pressure gradient, and to create that pressure gradient, these muscles are helpful. Those are diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. Okay, so once again, the first step, that is breathing, to occur, definitely the pressure gradient has to be developed. And to develop that pressure gradient, the muscles which are mainly helping, those are diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. So now we will see how air is moving into the lungs, and why it is moving inside means because the pressure, air pressure is more towards the outside, whereas here it is less. So here you can see negative pressure. Negative pressure means the pulmonary pressure is less. Pulmonary pressure is less when compared with the pressure of the atmosphere. That's why air is drawn into the lungs, and that process is called as the inspiration. And opposite to that, the pulmonary pressure is more comparative to again the external atmosphere. Okay, so here in the atmosphere, now it is less pressure compared to the internal lungs. So that's why from the lungs the air will move towards the outside. So that is nothing but the expiration. Here we have to keep in our mind that during the inspiration the pulmonary pressure is less, whereas during the expiration the pulmonary pressure is more. Okay, so here they said inspiration is initiated by the contraction of the diaphragm. Yes, this is a very important point, as we are saying that diaphragm, intercostal muscles, in which external and the internal intercostal muscles are involved in this mechanism of respiration, but which of the muscle first initiates that respiration? Yes, the diaphragm is the main muscle which initiates this particular process of respiration. That too the first step, that is of the inspiration. So inspiration is initiated by the contraction of the diaphragm. Yes, here you can notice that in the case of the thoracic cavity, when the diaphragm is in a relaxed state, yes, it is in a dome shape. Whereas when it is contracted, it becomes flattened. Okay, so when it becomes flattened, so this much of space is actually added to the thoracic cavity. Okay, so here you can notice that when the diaphragm is dome shaped, the size of the thoracic cavity is somewhat less. Whereas when the diaphragm is got flattened, yes, the space got increased. So this is the key point where the main initiation of the inspiration got occurred. So here they told that which increases means, yes, the diaphragm when it contracts increases the volume of thoracic chamber in the anterior posterior axis. Yes, here just now we said that thoracic volume is increasing. In which of the axis? Anterior posterior axis. So here to understand that, yes, let's take one of the imaginary yes, thoracic region, like this. Suppose, just imagine this is our thoracic cavity, and this is our upper region, so that is of the anterior region, and this is of the posterior region. So, the upper anterior and the lower posterior region. And this is like, this particular region is the ventral region and this is the dorsal region. So, suppose if this is the ventral, yes, this is the dorsal region. Okay, like this. Suppose if we will imagine like this. So, here what they are saying is, now when the diaphragm is from the dome shape, it is attaining a flattened structure. Yes, this much of space got increased. But in which of the axis? Like this, in a longitudinal way. The longitudinal way means the anterior posterior axis. Okay. In the anterior posterior axis, yes, the space got now increased. When the diaphragm contracts, yes, it is increasing the thoracic volume in the anterior posterior axis. So, for example, as here we said, this is the thoracic chamber. So, when this diaphragm from this dome shape, when it got straightened, yes, now because of that, okay, so because of that, this entire thoracic region is increasing in its size. Okay, but like this, see, like this, in the anterior posterior way. Okay, the anterior posterior side at the axis, yes, the size of the thoracic region got increased. But if it is in case of the external intercostal muscles when they contract, so where do these external intercostal muscles are present? Between our ribs. Okay, between the ribs. As we know that ribs are connected towards the ventral side to the thigh bone, that is to the sternum. So that's why when these muscles get contract, yes, they'll pull our chest cavity towards the forward direction. See, up to now our chest cavity is like that, but it pulled towards the outside. Because of that also, here there is an increase of the thoracic cavity, but in a dorsoventral axis. Okay, in a dorsoventral axis. So like this it will increase. See here, like this the size will increase. See, like this. So up to now the size is like this, but when the ribs are pull towards the outside, the size will increase like this. Okay, so in this way also the thoracic volume got increased. So now two different axes, in two different axes actually the thoracic volume is increasing. One is the longitudinal way, which is said as anterior posterior axis, and that brought by the contraction of the diaphragm. Whereas another way, that is ventral dorsal, okay, dorsoventral point of view, when the ribs are pulled towards the outside. Okay, ribs and as well as the sternum both got pulled towards the outside. Because of that, yes, the dorsoventral axis, the thoracic volume got increased. Okay, so that is the role of these two of the muscles. So the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles, when they are contracting, yes, they are increasing the thoracic volume. When the thoracic volume increases, yes, the pulmonary volume also increases. Pulmonary volume is inside the lungs, the space will increase by the expansion of the lungs. So when there is more space, the air pressure inside the lungs got decreases. So when the air pressure is less towards the or inside the lungs and it is more towards the outside, yes, air is drawn into the lungs. So that is how exactly the inspiration occurs. Okay, so once again see how the inspiration is taking place. The contraction of the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles brought the increase in the thoracic volume, and that thoracic volume increases the lung volume. And when the lung size got increases, the air pressure inside the lung will decreases. And obviously, the air pressure towards the outside is more. So, because of this pressure gradient, now the air from the external environment move into the lungs. So, that is the inspiration. Opposite will be the expiration. Coming to the expiration. Whatever the muscles are in a contract condition in the inspiration, they'll again come to their normal relaxed state. Okay, so when these muscles become normal state means, yes, here whatever the dome shaped structure which got straightened up, now again it becomes dome shape. Okay, now the diaphragm again dome shape. Again these muscles are pulling back the chest cavity. So that's why the size of the thoracic cavity decreases. When the size of the thoracic cavity decreases, this diaphragm and the sternum ribs, they'll like push the lungs. Okay, they'll pressurize the lungs so that the lungs volume also decreases. And when the lungs volume decreases, the air which is present inside the lungs, okay, the pressure will be more compared to the external environment. So that's why from the lungs, the air will move towards the outside. So that is the expiration. Okay, contraction of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles brings the inspiration, relaxation of those two muscles brings the expiration. So here that is what we have studied. Okay. So here breathing in means inspiration. So inspiration, here you can see that yes, during the inspiration the diaphragm got flattened. Okay, the diaphragm got flattened and the ribs are pulled towards the outside. So here the diaphragm and here the intercostal muscles both get contracted. Because of that, diaphragm got straightened and here the ribs and the sternum pulled towards the outside. So because of that, the thoracic volume increases, which in turn increases the pulmonary volume. That's why air will move towards the inside. So that is breathing in, that is inspiration. Whereas opposite, that is this diaphragm is attaining its dome shape. Because of that, it is pushing the lungs. And another way, this chest cavity also, it pulled backside. Okay, that's why the pressure is also from this side and this side. So that's why lungs got like pressurized and the space will be decreased. Because of that, air from the lungs will move towards the outside, which is nothing but the expiration process. So up to now we have studied about the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles role. But now we have to study about the abdominal muscles, which we have already earlier we have said. So what these abdominal muscles will do? See here, we have the ability to increase the strength of inspiration and expiration with the help of additional muscles in the abdomen. See here, to understand this, we have to know the two of the terms. The normal respiration and the forceful respiration. Normal respiration means generally in a day-to-day life when we are in a resting phase, okay, when we are not doing any of the physical exercise and all these, yes, at that condition, the normal respiration will go on. At that time, whatever the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles which we have said, yes, those two muscles are playing a major role. But suppose, like this, like when we will do the pranayamam, or otherwise when we will go for a continuous vigorous exercises, at that time, like sometimes we will like increase our breath rate. Okay, we will inhale, we will exhale. So during those conditions, we are keeping our pressure in our abdominal region. So the muscles which are present in our abdominal region, they are helping in that particular process, by which we can, that is why here they said, we have the ability to increase the strength of the inspiration and the expiration. See, the strength of the inspiration and the expiration, and that is done by the some of the muscles which are present in the abdomen, which are called as the abdominal muscles. Okay, and if we will go for the rate of the respiration, okay, like suppose in 1 minute, how many times we will respire? Okay, that for that the answer is 12 to 16 times per minute. Okay, 12 to 16 times per minute. This is in case of an average adult healthy human being. The respiration rate is, yes, 12 to 16 times per minute. Okay, it will be vary from like time to time or otherwise condition to condition. When we will go for a stillness exercises and all, yes, definitely at that time the rate of respiration will be varies. And so at the last, here one of the instrument they told, that is spirometer. Okay, spirometer. It can be used to estimate the volume of air involved in breathing movements. Okay, so especially to estimate the volume of the air which is involved in breathing movements. Okay, so to test that, yes, definitely we can use this particular instrument, that is of the spirometer. Okay, and especially the spirometer is like clinically also it is useful, like in the case of the like diagnosis of asthma like conditions. Okay, so that there how much of air they are actually taking and are exhaling. So by measuring that, yes, they can like it can be helpful in the diagnosis of this disease.